Hello everyone. I wanted to go over kind of what APIs are and how they're kind of set up and what they mean to us as programmers. This is going to be a generic video. There's not going to be any coding. If you want to see how to programmatically interact with APIs, I did just publish one where I did a simple HTTP GET using HTTP client, and that was written in Java. You can do this in pretty much any language that has the ability to get online. It's not doing an HTTP GET is really simple. But first, let's kind of go over what these are. So this is the Accuweather API. This is an API which is meant to get you data about the current weather or forecast or conditions or whatever for where you live. It's not the best API I've ever used. It's actually a little bit weird. It goes against certain conventions that I like in APIs, but it's such a broad topic, weather, that I feel like I can talk about it, and it's pretty universally understood. This is going to be using the imperial system. Not that it actually matters, because the results of these calls don't really matter at all. So their API is actually a little bit weird, and they go over it and they kind of show you this API flow diagram, which sort of explains what's going on here. So to begin with, API is short for, I believe it's application programming interface. So it's a set of endpoints that are available to return data to the caller. So basically, if you have some experience coding, the way to think of it is these are kind of like getter methods, or well, the ones that give you back data are kind of like getter methods in Java. So if you're looking for the current weather in a city, you would pass the city you're looking for, and it would respond back with the weather. And it kind of goes through the different ways that you can go about doing it and the endpoints that you would hit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop over here into the API reference and kind of show you guys what individual calls look like and how those are going to be processed. So if we shoot over here and just go into the locations API, it's going to have some a list of methods, a list of method names, or these are really function names, and a description of what they do. So the method is actually the HTTP method. So this is going to be, depending on the API, generally one of three. Or maybe four. The most common four you'll see are get, which just sends some information along and it gets some data. Post, I actually don't think there's any post on here. So what post means is that you send along some data. It's generally stored or it's processed and kind of transformed and sent back to you in a different way than what you got it. Put is for when you're uploading a file to a server, generally speaking. And occasionally you'll have delete, which is used to delete files or certain records on the other side. So when you're just cruising around the internet and you're just clicking on stuff, all these are just get calls. Unless you're submitting data through a submit form, those are post calls. Put calls, like if you were to go to like file dropper, and you were to just upload a file and, oh, I want to share this. Okay, it's actually not going to let me. But the moment I hit upload file, I'll go into trying to think of the safest folder. Document shouldn't have anything terrible. I don't even know what that image is, but okay. I don't know why file dropper isn't working for me. Probably because I have bunch of ad blockers on. But that's an example of a put, just uploading a file to a server. So for us to get information, I did a little bit of research on just kind of like what the specific structure is. So we can see that like right here we have country code is the thing it's asking us for, but we don't know the country code yet. So we're kind of in like a weird spot where we don't know what we're looking for. So we can kind of come down here to city search. And I did a little bit of looking up kind of what the structure is. So if you look, it's kind of weird because you have the API key at the end. So to generate an API key, you go into My Apps, and you can add a new app, and you can fill this out. And then once you fill it out, I'm not going to bother right now. You guys have better things to do with your time. You can click it, and you have an API key. I'm actually done with this one. If you guys want to use it, go for it. But it is rate limited. You can only use it like 50 times a day or something. And you know, depending on when you view this or how many people take it, you may need to make your own. But anyways, so if we go back to that flow diagram, you know, they put in ampersand API key equals API key. So the way a call looks is going to be affected by that. So let's say we wanted to search for a city. In my case, I live in Boston. So we're going to try something like this. I just deleted my own API key. Actually, you know what? I'll just kind of Control Z that. So this is actually the one for Boston, but in theory, I don't know that yet. And I believe it was Q equals Boston, because all the queries had like a weird kind of Q thing before them. So if we come back here, where is it? Search. Yeah, so whenever they ended off something like this, like if I'm going to do a city search, you can kind of click in here, and it sort of shows you what you're looking for. Now, if I come in here, this is the main reason I'm using this API, because I can click here, and I can put in my API key, and then if I want, I can query like that, and it actually shows me the call. So I do send this request. It shows me what the response will be, and then it shows me the curl call. So in this case, it did these in the opposite order, but that actually shouldn't matter. So if we come over here, you see I did $Q, so query equals Boston, and I need an ampersand here. And API key is my API key. And when I hit send, it gives me back a whole bunch of suggestions. The first one right here is Boston. Now, the way that this works is they have these keys which represent a city in their system. So the key for Boston is 348735. Don't ask me why. It's not tremendously intuitive, but I'm just going to kind of add that in here to this URL just so it's there for a minute. So then to go ahead and pull information, we would go to the forecast API. And so we can pull 1 day of daily forecasts. We can grab this, and we can replace up to the API key part. And so the location key is 348735, and we actually don't need this. I think we just go like $API key equals. And then I think that's how we do this one. Yeah, so this gets us the information for the city I live in. So in this case, if we look, we have the date that this is true for. The text is expect rainy weather Wednesday afternoon through Thursday afternoon, which is odd because I'm recording this on a Saturday. In fairness, if we look at the forecast, there really isn't too much going on until Friday, Saturday, or I'm sorry, like until Wednesday, it's pretty much clear. Every day is just kind of sunny, and then Wednesday we see some rain into Thursday, and then it's sunny again. So the information's right, but it's not necessarily giving us a whole lot of information. So as far as daily forecasts, it's giving us the forecast for just today. The temperature, the low tonight is going to be 39. The high is 57, which was earlier. And what's weird about this is it actually doesn't show me the current temperature, which you'd think it would. But I guess since it's a forecast and not the current temperature, that's kind of where it leaves us. I think that you can break this down into getting like current conditions. So if we kind of do the same thing and just kind of pull the endpoint, we can replace this part, get rid of the location key there. We grab this, and now the current value is in metric 13.3 C or 56 degrees Fahrenheit is the current weather outside. So given that sort of thing, that's kind of how you do an HTTP GET and start to interact with these APIs. In looking at these APIs, I have not seen any that deal with post. I might just do a video real quick about how to post data, just so you guys can see what the difference is and what you might pass to it. In general, when you do post, you're passing along a JSON body. So if I switch this over, the body, you would probably be using JSON, but you can use just text or other, depending on how the other side's going to parse it. But anyways, I think that'll do it for this video. The only thing I would caution you on, again, is if you're going to kind of follow along and download Insomnia, which is a REST client, make sure that you get your own API key, just because mine may be over the day limit. Anyways, have a good one, guys.